Hello! In this video, I will present science and technology integration in regulations at international, regional, national, and local levels. Then, after listing other key elements of good governance, I will talk about the concepts of technology justice and integrated risk governance. Disaster Risk Reduction Laws to Save Lives concludes a 2014 joint comparative study by the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. Therefore, DRR policy, legislation, frameworks and regulations overall can and should be developed and implemented at all levels, from the local to the international. At the international level, first the Hyogo and now the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, 2015 to 2030, guide our work on DRR. A central aspect of the Sendai Framework, in comparison to the Hyogo Framework for Action, is the change of emphasis from managing disasters to understanding and managing risks. This change forces us to better understand risk and all the elements that affect risk, like hazards, exposure, and vulnerability. Therefore, the role of science and technology becomes more relevant in the Sendai Framework. There are many references to science and technology in the Sendai Framework. Science and technology are mentioned in many paragraphs, such as paragraph 19, which specifies the guiding principles, paragraphs 24, 25, and 36, and many others, as you can see in the additional material. For example, under Priority 1, Understanding Disaster Risk, paragraph 25b states, to promote the conduct of comprehensive surveys on multi-hazard disaster risks and the development of regional disaster risk assessments and maps, including climate change scenarios. At the international level, and in addition to the Sendai Framework, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, and the UNFCCC acknowledge the use of science and technology. Science and technology for climate change and DRR are relevant for many SDGs. At the regional level, for example, the Disaster Reduction Programme of the Applied Geoscience and Technology Division of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community offers technical and policy guidance to support disaster risk management practices in the Pacific Island countries and territories. In Asia, the Agreement on Disaster Management and Emergency Response, ADMER, was signed by heads of the ASEAN member states in 2005. The ADMER is the first binding agreement on managing disasters regionally. The agreement aims to help member states to move from a reactive to a more active prevention approach towards disasters. Among other actions, ASEAN members are required to identify high-risk areas, establish early warning systems, and cooperate with each other on scientific and technological research. At the national and local levels, we find countries with disaster risk management laws. For example, Algeria's law on the prevention of major risks and disaster management in the context of sustainable development of 2004. This law comprises requirements for risk assessment and mapping, land use planning, and building safety. The frequently updated Japan's Disaster Countermeasures Basic Act of 1961, which is complemented by municipal ordinances, includes requirements for the compilation of hazard data and mapping, and in establishing early warning systems. The backbone of Vietnam's early warning system is the legally mandated system of flood and storm committees, found at all levels. At the local level, the committees are involved in the alert system. When we talk about regulations and law, it is important also to talk about customary law. The comparative study completed by IFRC and UNDP found that customary law and traditional authorities in DRR can be found in Ethiopia, Madagascar, Namibia, New Zealand, Nicaragua, and South Africa. In South Africa, traditional authorities and customary courts participate from the national to the municipal level disaster advisory forums. The disaster risk management law requires that indigenous knowledge is considered in compiling national and provincial disaster management frameworks and plans. In Ethiopia, most pastoral and agropastoral land tenure is based on customary law. However, there are customary rules on water resource management at the community level. The Kabele, which is the communal authority, has bylaws on water, pasture, and grazing. Also, informal traditional approval processes for new buildings exist at the community level. Overall, and according to the IFRC UNDP study, low-income countries' lack of adequate financial, human, and technical resources is one of the main causes of less than effective DRR legislative systems. Even in countries with well-developed legal systems such as Germany and Austria, competencies assigned to different actors at different levels and the lack of coordination and coherence between individual risk-reducing laws in different sectors and different provinces hinders more effective risk reduction. Although mentioned in relation to early warning systems, the following recommendations provided by IFRC and UNDP also concern other science and technology regulations for DRR. These consist of including science and technology in DRM legal frameworks and establish clear roles and responsibilities, for example, by including the roles of communities to provide bottom-up information. In addition to policy, legislation, and frameworks, other key elements of good governance include transparency, for example, access to data, accountability and safeguards. For example, who is accountable for the implementation of safeguards when developing and using technologies? Empowerment. How is the scientific knowledge produced, shared, and managed? As well as linkages on participation, equity, and coordination in the development and use of science and technology for DRR. These key elements of good governance bring us also to the discussion of the term and concept of technology justice. So what is technology justice? Practical Action, an international NGO that uses technology to challenge poverty in developing countries, states that technology justice is allowing people to choose and use technology to improve their lives. It is focusing research and innovation to meet humanity's basic needs and protect the planet, and it is making sure that technologies don't harm others, now or in the future. I would also like to present another concept and one of the institutions that are relevant when discussing risk governance and science and technology. It is the concept of integrated risk governance. One of the institutions that works on integrated risk governance is the Integrated Risk Governance Center, here at EPFL. The mission of this center is to make sense of emerging technological opportunities that the public sector can benefit from and should therefore support. The center also identifies and analyzes existing and emerging risks that both industry and public authorities should be aware of in order to assess and make decisions about those risks. The center is a platform for dialogue on opportunities and risks related to science and technology, with the aim of providing recommendations for their governance. According to the IRGC, governing risk and managing technology includes understanding that technology must emerge, be encouraged, and nurtured. There is also a need to make sense of technology by balancing opportunities, risks, and governance challenges. It is important to realize that we need to influence the development of policy and regulatory frameworks towards evidence-based policy. In this video, we saw that communities, national governments, and international institutions are developing DRR regulations that include science and technology aspects. However, there is much work still to be done. For example, we need to increase access to technical resources. We need to strengthen coordination among different actors and establish clear roles and responsibilities, and improve the coherence among laws. Finally, we also discussed that good governance is important in science and technology use and development, but also that science and technology could be important elements through which we can achieve good governance.